Hello everyone, this is Rabbitearsblog, and last time I have reviewed the second volume of Joss Whedon's Astonishing X-Men series, Dangerous. Now I'm reviewing the third volume, Torn, and before I get into what I liked or hated about this volume, I would like to give a brief summary. After defeating Danger in the second volume, the X-Men are now trying to find out the mysteries of the events unfolding among them. Meanwhile, Kitty and Colossus are starting to have romantic moments together after being separated for so long. Even though things look good for Kitty and Colossus and the rest of the X-Men, strange things start to happen when Emma Frost starts acting so strangely, and the X-Men find themselves in a nightmare that will leave them helpless and scarred. Alright, now out of all the volumes I've read from Joss Whedon's run on Astonishing X-Men, this volume was the most emotional and weirdest out of the whole series. Joss Whedon has indeed created a truly surreal yet emotional story out of this volume, as the X-Men characters experience varying degrees of trauma and fright from the force that attacks them at the X-Mansion. There is just so much going on in this volume that I was literally blown away by the emotional themes littered throughout this book, and it really made this volume worth my time to read. I also love how the characters were portrayed in this volume, especially Kitty and Emma, as Kitty is shown to kick butt when she was in a dangerous situation and take action immediately. And I also love the way that Joss Whedon showed Emma's vulnerable side, as it was emotionally traumatizing to see her fall to pieces about her past. As always, I love the relationship between Colossus and Kitty as they finally share a kiss and share romantic moments together. I also love how they are always trying to communicate with each other, which makes their relationship so authentic. John Cassidy's illustrations are just as wonderful in this volume as they were in the previous two volumes, and I loved how John Cassidy illustrated references from older X-Men comics. My favorite image being of Kitty standing in the sewer in the same stance that Wolverine had during the Dark Phoenix saga when the X-Men first met the Hellfire Club. The only problem with this volume is that the plot of this volume might be a bit too confusing for many readers. It's like this. If you have read the Dark Phoenix saga, which I think every X-Men fan should read, and Grant Morrison's run of the new X-Men, then you definitely understand where the elements in this volume are coming from. However, this volume still has a confusing plot as it's told in a dreamlike tone, and as it has many stories that are told in a dreamlike sequence, the plot just doesn't make a lot of sense most of the time. The rating for Astonishing X-Men Torn is T+, which is for older teens since this volume does contain some frightening sequences and brief language, but it's certainly not the most violent volume out of the whole series. Overall, I give Astonishing X-Men Torn 5 out of 5. Even though the plot was very confusing, this volume makes up for it by providing effective storytelling and great flashbacks to classic X-Men moments that made the X-Men franchise the best among the best of comics. Alright, so here comes the spoilers section. So if you haven't read this volume of Astonishing X-Men yet, then feel free to stop here. Or if you had read this volume, or you just want to hear about what I have to say about at this part, keep watching. Alright, so if you have read this volume, then you will notice that all this nightmare stuff that is happening to the X-Men is really Emma projecting past memories towards everyone. Now, this is the confusing part for me because I'm not sure about how a telepath's mind works. I know that this is a fantasy series and such things are not meant to make sense, but why would Emma project these nightmares towards the X-Men like that? Does she want the X-Men to kill her for messing with their minds? Or is this some part of a bigger plot she has planned? Also, apparently, Cassandra Nova, the woman who was responsible for destroying Genosha in the new X-Men series, happens to be in Emma's head. Why is that? And what happened to her towards the end of this volume? Did she just transfer her mind to Armor, a young student at the Xavier Institute, or did she just disappear from Emma's head once Emma got her senses back? This does make for one confusing plot in my opinion, and I have often found it hard to figure out the scenario of this volume. Well, that's my review on the third volume of Astonishing X-Men entitled Torn. And be sure to tune in next time for my review on the final volume of Joss Whedon's run on Astonishing X-Men, Unstoppable. See you soon!